We just stepped on their face with a hobnail boot and broke their nose. The way to the end zone, and Georgia is going to conquer the Crimson Tide.
So how about them fucking dogs? That's what I told them.
Hope it doesn't take that long again. Go Dogs.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 100 Sanford Podcast. It is your guy, Lamar Lovelace. I'm here with George Foster. Big G, what's going on?
What's happening? we getting closer and closer to the season, man.
Yeah, man, we got a couple days before G-Day. You going down to G-Day?
Hey, man, it's still gonna be a game time decision.
Mm-hmm.
I got a lot going on this weekend with the girls.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see, man. We're gonna see. It might not, but I'll be there in spirit. My homeboy Big Snacks said he's supposed to go. He's supposed to go down there. So Snacks will give me the. Snacks played with me, so he know what that ball's supposed to look like. He'll give me the scoop.
That's
and I hear we're gonna have old Graham down there.
Yeah, man, Graham's gonna be in the house. He's credentialed, so he's gonna be trying to ask old Kirby those tough questions after it's all said and done, which Kirby's probably gonna shut him down. We know how Kirby does, but yeah, man, Graham's gonna be in the building. It's gonna be.
I might have to shoot my shot at Kirby, man. I heard Kirby did an interview. I heard an interview on the radio today.
Yeah.
So he talking. You know what you're gonna get. But he talking.
Look, I don't even want to talk football with Kirby. I just want to get him on. Let's talk about anything, man.
I don't need to know nothing what you thinking about the season,
right?
The squad. I just want to talk to you, man.
Favorite music, favorite spot to eat. You know what I mean? Yeah. Stuff like that. Let the people know who you are. Let them love up on you. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I look at it. Exactly. Kirby ain't giving you nothing else.
That's a good idea, man. We'll talk.
Yeah.
I gotta see if I can pull that one off.
Yeah, man. Hey, before we go any further, man, we always gotta pay the bills, man. TakeAVacay.com. Y'all gotta go over to TakeAVacay.com. Vacay, it is the premium products for Delta 8. They got the Delta 10. Hey, they got the Delta 8 CBG infused, Delta 8 THC infused. They got the new flavors. They got the Fuji apple. They got the blue raspberry, the watermelon. They got the vapes. And if you're really tired, you need a little rest. They got the little sleep unwind gummies. Take some of those. But TakeAVacay.com, TakeAVAYCAY.com. Head on over there. Use the promo code 100 Sanford for a 10% off your order. I promise you won't be disappointed. You will not be disappointed. But yeah, man, we got spring game coming up on Saturday. I'm like you. I was headed there. Then I look at my son's schedule. He got practice, on Friday. He got a game on Sunday. We don't miss no practices. We don't miss no games, or else we ain't going to be at G-Day whenever it's time for him to sign and get there. So we don't miss nothing, Yeah, and then I got a younger cousin. He wanted us to come up to Pitt because he's a freshman this year. They got their spring game that day too. But I'm going to miss his. So, but football's in the air. For those who can get there, make sure you get there early. Enjoy the festivities. I guess they're also taking that time to switch up a little dog. We got the new mascot coming in.
My man, I didn't know that was happening, man. They got my man Boom in the house now.
Boom, Big Boom is in the house.
I like that.
Yeah, right.
I like that. That's a dope. That's a dope name, man. Boom.
Yeah.
I always look forward to seeing what these new cats are gonna be. Yeah. These new, not cats, rather, but these new dogs are gonna be personality wise.
Yeah, because he's only 10 months old, so he ain't even full-grown size yet.
Yeah, he might be a little rowdy.
Yeah, he might be a little rowdy. You know what I mean? Somebody come getting close. He might take a little bite out of that leg. He might try to. You don't know. We don't know what we're going to get yet. But
about time we get another rowdy one in. I came in with Ugga 5 or 6 or something like that. Something like no before then.
Let's see, because Q's been there for 10 years.
And the other I came in with was on the Sports Illustrated.
Ooh. Yeah.
Remember the one they had? He was on the cover.
Yeah. See, I knew you were going to talk
okay.
about that too. I was sitting there trying to remember all the names, and I was like, God dang, I should write them down. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
We need to look that up before we get off. I don't even remember what. It makes me feel old. Like we've been going through others.
Yeah, man. Well, you know what, though? The good thing about it, you shouldn't feel too old because Bulldogs really, truly don't have that long of a lifespan. You know what I mean? Like, we were blessed. We had ours for 12 years, and now we got a new puppy. Well, he ain't a puppy. He's 3 years old now. But, you know, sometimes they have little health issues and things they got to deal with. But 10 years to grace the sidelines of Sanford Stadium for Q, you know, he's going to hang him up. He's going to go relax, retire, as they say, and then let the new pup come in and do what the new pup does. But I know some people were a little bit disappointed, like, hey, he's got to be there for the three-peat, you know, for a three-peat run. Heck, he wasn't even in the house. He wasn't even in the house for the championship. So we okay. We okay as long as he's, you know, putting his paw down somewhere else and letting us know what we're going to do. It's all good. So, but yeah, he's going to be celebrated. And also they're going to bring in the new pup this Saturday. Another quick tidbit, man, quick note. We got another recruit in the house, Nitro Tuggle, the wide receiver from South Bend, Indiana, which is pretty tough, man. You go up to Indiana, you start pulling kids from South Bend. I mean, heck,
yeah, like,
you know,
they couldn't have left them with a good taste in their mouth.
Yeah, you know, especially when Notre Dame always struggles to have those explosive athletes. I think that's been their biggest problem over the last 10 to 15 years. They get some good ball players, don't get me wrong, but they need that explosive talent like Rocket Ishmael used to be.
They haven't had a Rocket.
They haven't had a Rocket in a long time, man. And Nitro, his name speaks for itself. Big
you
kid, 6'1",
if you name yourself Nitro.
Right. That's what I'm talking about, man. So another wide receiver in the house, B-Mac is doing his thing, man. And that's one of the things I'm excited to see this week. This weekend is what the receiving core is going to look like with Lovett, with Ra Thomas, with the guys we already have in house, Bell, Jack Saint. I'm ready to see with Arian Smith, along with the freshmen that came in. You know, Hazid.
Still got Dylan out there.
Yes, man. I'm waiting to see what this is going to look like.
We loaded.
Yeah.
I remember not too long ago, people were so worried about our receiver, room. Even though the receiver rooms they were worried about just won 2 national championships back.
Right. Tell me about it.
But still, man, we loaded, man.
You know what it is, man.
I hope we can keep enough people happy.
Man, look, people were just. I think what it was is everybody looked at Ohio State, and they looked at Alabama, and they looked at possibly Oklahoma in the way that they use their receivers. Georgia uses theirs differently, man. You don't need somebody to go out there and catch, go for 1,216 touchdowns and everything else. They spread the ball around. They're prepared when they get to the NFL, which is the most important thing to some of these kids is when they, what they're being developed as at this level. But, man, look, when they catch the ball, they make plays and they're yaks. Or they got to be up there with anybody else in the country in terms of after, when they catch the ball, making things happen. So, but I think that was the big deal. Everybody's looking at Alabama's receivers, and they're going crazy. Jamo running free all over the place. But that's not what we are. That's not what we do.
That's not what we do. That's not what we do.
Yeah, man. And especially when you got the number one tight end in the country, number one tight end, college and pro, in my opinion, in Brock Bowers. I mean, he's going to get the rock. He's going to get the rock. And then again, Georgia's going to continue to pound the rock, use the running backs. And use the running backs out of the field probably better than anybody else in the country was doing and has done in the last few years. So there's a lot of things that happen when Georgia is doing what it's doing. So I wouldn't be too worried about the receivers, but it is exciting. It's exciting to finally get some of those names that I think that fans have been clamoring for. Some of these guys that are running these 4.3s, these 4.4s. I mean, when you get that, the Anthony Evans, the Yazids, these guys that are running sub 4.4s, that's explosion. That's explosion. And that's what you really want, even if you're not getting as many passes. Yeah, man. That's a good question, too. Because I asked one of my boys that before. Oh, wait a minute, man. I think we might have to pause that question because we got a guest getting ready to enter the building. You know how we do.
Sir.
We do it every chance we get. We try to bring on the best guest that we could find. Oh man, he's fixing it. He's fixing his hair and everything else. Man, let me do the honors on this one, Foster. This is my guy. This is my guy. You had your chance to bring on. You had Jordan Reed that came on a couple weeks ago from ESPN. But I've been rocking with this guy for a long, long time. And I'm talking going back to the days when he's shooting videos on YouTube. Still doing it. Still doing this thing. First video I ever saw was when he did it with my guy, Joe Moorhead, who was coaching at UMass at the time. And ever since then, I've been following him. He's one of the best in the business. He is an analyst for CBS. He's a draft guru. He is a scout guru. And I guarantee you, if you go get his material, over 1,000 kids that he scouts. And he looks at every film. He ain't one of these, guys who just writes it down. He looks at everything. He is my guy, Emory Hunt, the Czar of the Playbook. What's up, Emory?
What's going on, guys? I appreciate the welcome and appreciate you guys bringing me on.
Thank you for coming, man. We enjoyed it, man. We try to bring quality guests on this show. We don't do the fluff. You know what I'm saying? We can dig into the Rolodex and bring you fluff. But we like to bring the big dogs on this show, man.
Hey, Em, let me tell you why he's saying that.
Appreciate it or not, we gonna bring you the best in the business. And so we appreciate you taking your time out to come on this show.
He's buttering you up.
I feel like the hammer coming, man.
Yeah, here's the deal. Here's the deal.
Come on, man.
He wanted you to be around when he was coming out of Georgia so he can get up into that top five pick. But
no, man.
I appreciate that, man. I always want to make sure when I started this thing, I want to make sure when I do it, it was because I was doing it for the right reasons, and also why create something if you're going to be like somebody else? If, say what you see, and if you're wrong, cool. If you're right, cool. And so, I know I played with a couple guys that I thought should have been in the NFL, that they end up going to Canada and balling out. So, that's kind of like why I look at the game from that perspective and give those guys, I put them on equal plane with dudes that are going to go to the NFL. So my perspective is a little bit different,
That's the best way to be, man. You have to speak what you want to. You have to speak what you see with conviction. Now you have to know what you're seeing, but speak it with conviction. You know what I mean? Don't lean on nobody else's stuff. You know what I'm saying? This is your opinion on what you're seeing on that tape, and the tape ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So hey, we respect what you do, man. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people. I'm pretty sure. So like tape. It ain't for everybody. I'm sure you know that. It's a lot of when I was scouting, I enjoyed it. I sit in front of that computer all day and run that tape, and I'll be just fine. I have to get up, stretch my legs and stuff, go shoot the breeze a little bit around the corner with, with my brothers, Rand Carter and Ray Agnew. Shoot the breeze for a little bit and then get back to the tape. I enjoyed it. It ain't for everybody. So everybody ain't doing it.
Oh, listen. I
so
tell
people, they ain't.
People ask like, how you put together this guide? I was like, well, it's a 12-hour day I get up at 5 a.m., 5:30 to about noon. I'm watching film. I go take a 2-hour break, eat, work out, come back, 3:30 to about 7. And then I shut it down. You know what I'm saying? And I do that for 7 days and for 2 months until it's done.
Exactly. And people, I'm glad you said that, because people don't understand what it takes to scout a player. You're not looking at highlights. It's not highlight. You gotta look at the whole play, several games per player. And how we used to do it, several games per player, see draft year and the year before. You know what I mean? And that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time, and everybody not doing that. You know what I mean? So me knowing you, honestly, knowing you doing the work, I could trust you. Like, I'm not going to agree with everything. People that work in the same scouting, in the same personnel department, don't agree on everything. But and that's good. You know what I mean? Right. You don't need to agree with everybody. Oh, yeah, I think so too. No, if you don't believe that, say it. Put it on the board. Let's see who's right here. And we also
stand on your name. Stand on your name. That's what it comes down to.
Stand on your name.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Well, let's get into this, man, because last year was a talented draft. And that's all I'm hearing is this year is not as talented. It's not as deep. You've done the work. And that's why I said I trust you more than anybody. What is last year's class compared to this year's class, in your opinion?
I always feel like I'm the wrong dude to ask that question to because I cover so many prospects. So I'm always say it's a deep class. Sometimes you just got to dig a little deeper to find what you're looking for, right?
Right.
Yes, and I feel like when those guys say like, "Oh, it's a bad class," how? If you only talk about the same 4 or 5 players, of course you're gonna see that. But if you digging deeper, you're gonna find like there's always ample amount of talent. Some positions may be a little bit lean at the top, but that doesn't mean the middle ain't stacked with guys that's gonna help your football team. And that last time I checked, that's what help you win games. Like these dudes, it's always about the middle and not about the top or the bottom. So I think it's a deep class across the board, across different positions and skill sets. So you should be able to find what you're looking for, in my opinion.
Well, which position group do you think is the deepest? Because what I hear is that, okay, you got the quarterbacks, obviously 1, 2, 3, however deep you want to go, and then it falls off. Same thing, but they're talking about maybe the wide receivers, a couple guys here, and then it falls off. The offensive linemen, same thing. But which position group do you think is maybe the deepest of this class that people can really pay attention to?
First of all, I'm sick of everybody being 5'10", 185 because it's like 6 billion slot receivers, right? It's like, everybody, I feel like because of what we see in college football, you're going to always find the receiver position and the DB is going to always be stacked with names and guys and bodies. But I truly think the tackle class is solid. I do think the guards are really – I'm a big guard guy, so I love the guard position. And I always found the center position to be solid too. And people say tight end is deep. Yes, tight end is deep. I think it's deep because it's deeper across the positions. And I break down the positions in inline guys, H-backs, and flex guys. So, yeah, you could find, talent at all 3 deeper into the draft. Running back is super deep. I feel like this running back class is like the 2017 class with, McCaffrey and Fournette. Tariq Cohen, all those guys. Like you find a Tariq Cohen in this class and Deuce Vaughn. Like there's a bunch of those guys in his group. And I think from a quarterback perspective, is deep in terms of you have a great chance. And we've seen this now become a thing since COVID. So since 2020, you can upgrade your QB too, because you're going to need that dude, for a game or two this year. So you better have someone that could play. We saw the playoff game with the Dolphins. They needed a guy that, is Skylar Thompson, who I had as my QB3 last year. He was able to, get into the game and he didn't play well, but hey, he played in the playoff game. He started the playoff game. They can't take that off your record. So
San Francisco ran through 3 of the game.
Right.
In a playoff game.
Yeah,
definitely that bring and not to sorry to cut you off.
No.
But that goes to show you how important depth is, and that never gets talked about in the mainstream media. Like, dude, I can give my daughter a couple pointers and she could pick out the top guy in the class. They easy. They easy. It's like, what I'm saying? You put on a Bryce Young tape. You could tell, oh, he's a guy. he's really, really good. You put on a Stroud tape. Oh, this guy's really, really good. Daddy, he threw that ball really well. Okay, that's easy. You don't need to be a professional to tell me who the top guys are in each at each position. Tell me who's your 8th lineman on Sunday. Can you scout that 8th lineman? Can you tell me who's going to be the 5th corner on the team? Like, where can you get me that 5th corner? Can you find me somebody in the 6th round that's going to make this squad and make our special teams better? We know everybody knows who the good players are. They're so easy to find. You put on tape. You tell me Derrick Henry. You can see him carrying grown men in the end zone. Alabama.
There's a reason, though. There's a reason. Those guys, the fifth corner, the eighth lineman, it's not sexy. And sexy sells in the NFL, right? If it was college, it might be a little different story. Everybody's like, all right, a lot of guys going to play. We're going to see those guys on Saturday. But they just don't sell on the NFL level, especially for the casual fan who's watching the draft. Like me, I'm a junkie. I'm going to be there for 7 rounds, probably in my boxers, eating Cheetos, getting, you getting mad at me, saying you need to go on a diet, all that type of stuff. So that's going to be me for 3 days. You know what I mean? The average person's not doing that. So I got to go here because the fans want to know. The quarterback position. Let's just start there because you do got Bryce Young, you do got C.J. Stroud, you got Levis, and you got another name that crept up, which is Richardson, and a lot of people got a lot of different opinions about all of them. And what's your opinion on those guys?
But I'm glad you asked that. Here's what I think. I think this class is just like 2017. Now, my top 3 in 2017, I had the same grade on all 3, but I rated them Watson, Mahomes, and Kaiser. Number 4 was at the time was Gerard Evans, who never got an opportunity to play, even though he beat Mr. Trubisky head to head and outperformed him in that game they played in the ACC, I think in the title game perhaps. And then my 5th guy was PJ Walker, who had to go to the XFL, win MVP, only come back and get an opportunity in the NFL. I still like to say I had Mr. Trubisky like quarterback 11, right? Because I wasn't sold, And so this year, my top 3 with the same grade is Richardson, Bryce Young, and C.J. Stroud. You throw any one of them dudes and say, hey, I'd rather Young over Stroud, I'd rather Richardson over Young, you're not going to get an argument from me, right? Because I think all 3 can step in and play. I wish they go to specific spots. I'd rather see Richardson with Indy. I'd rather see Bryce with Houston. I'd rather see Stroud with Carolina for different reasons. My 4th guy.
Oh, go for your 4th. I want to hear your 4th.
4th guy is Ty Centeio out of James Madison. Now, what's interesting about him, I was at the Tropical Bowl down in Orlando. He did his thing. He won MVP there. He went to the NFLPA game. I went out there. Him and Lindsey Scott from Incarnate Word was balling. And so they both did a great job. And a lot of scouts talking with, Centeio after practices all throughout the week. Then I go in, because I start the draft process in January when I go to these all-star games. Yeah, then I double back in February and watch film all February, all March, all until my draft guide is done. So I see these guys live before I say, hey, yeah, you ball out in practice. You better ball out on this tape when I get to it. And, so Centeio, I remember seeing him at Temple for a little bit. Then I saw him at Colorado State. I remember just getting their face kicked in by South Dakota State. I'm like, this Colorado State quarterback ain't bad. Then he transfers to JMU and wins some best conference, player of the year and also newcomer of the year in the Sun Belt. So he was efficient. He reminds me of PJ Walker in that sense, right? In 5, I have Jaron Hall. 6, I have Hendon Hooker. I have Stetson Bennett at 11, and at QB 18 is Will Levis.
Whoa. Okay, so first of all, this is a dog podcast, so we got to touch on 2 names that you mentioned. You mentioned Richardson at number 1 as your number 1 prospect. And then you mentioned our guy Stetson Bennett at number, did you say 11?
11.
What is the difference between those 2 quarterbacks? Why? Because our fans are going to say Stetson Bennett's a 2-time national champion, balled out on pro day and balled out at the combine and everything else. How come he can't be up in that top tier as well?
Because Stetson Bennett is 35 years old. So when you factor that in, Richardson is 20, you know what I'm saying? But in all seriousness, with the numbers that I have, these things laid out, people get fixated on the numbers but not the grade itself. So the grade for Stetson Bennett, I have him 13 points lower than Richardson. I have Richardson as an 86, and I have Stetson as like a 75 or something like that. I like Stetson Bennett. I was out there on Twitter last year telling people he should have got at least a free trip to New York, but they told me to go sit my black ass down. So now this year he gets to go to New York. You know what I'm saying? He did the same thing this year that he did last year. Yeah. And
you called it last year, huh?
I called it last year. I was like, hey man, this dude, he playing well. He playing above the X's and O's. He does a great job, finding ways to make a way. And so for me, and I said this on another show. This was last year. I threw this idea out there. I'm like, because when he was weighing whether or not he wanted to come back or enter the NFL, I'm like, listen, knowing how the NFL process is and what they look for at the position, which is why you see Will Levis get hyped up. Like, listen, man, I would go and jump in this USFL, XFL, play those 10 games, and then let the league reevaluate me from there, because the XFL ends before the draft. So I can go get these 10 games against pro talent, so they see I'm a pro-type player and passer against pro defenses. Now my stock just rose. Like, yeah, I played a little bit more games, but the problem is he won the national championship. That's like 15 games. You know what I'm saying? Like, so obviously it wouldn't have made sense, but I'm thinking like, man, if I'm one of these dudes like Bennett that I know is going to get, flim-flam through the process because of his height and all that stuff like that, even though he's the same height as a dude that's about to go number one, then I would go jump in this other league. I wouldn't even, like, if I was DJ Uiagalelei, I'm not going to Oregon State. I'm going to play for the Tampa Bay Bandits or somebody like that.
Really?
Yeah, because, again, you're not going to get better going to a system. Your flaws will get even more exposed, and you're going to start collecting IDs like Keaton Slovis and JT Daniels, So
let me ask you this, and I haven't asked this from anybody. Do you think is Stetson looked at a little different if his measurables were a little more prototypical?
I think so.
He is what it is. If Stetson was 6'2", we're not even gonna get Madden created player on it. Just say he call Stetson 6'2", 210. Do you with the same skill set and the same tape, do you think he's looked at any different, or he is what he is?
I think he would be looked at completely different. You don't even hear his name being talked about in this process, because the height weight that you mentioned is Zach Wilson. He would be Zach Wilson, technically, like a guy that can get outside, create on the move, has a liver arm than people give him credit for. And I just think the issue with Bennett is a combination of age. So you worry about ceiling. Is he going to get better as he is what he is? And he's a little bit streaky. Like, and a lot of times everything, he has that issue that a lot of guys that have good velocity, maybe not necessarily a strong arm, but the great velocity of everything is a fastball. Like, he got to really change up, throw a touch sometimes, you know what I'm saying? And, but you like that he's not afraid. Give me that dude 10 times out of 10 that's not afraid of pressure the moment, the situation, and also the defense in front of you. And I think because, how and it's weird how sometimes they want to use it as a triumph, but other times they use it as a detriment. How he entered college football, right? Because he entered as a walk-on, they're going to use it against him, even though Baker went number one. And Bennett better than Baker. You know what I'm saying? In terms of situational football, like he's not afraid.
Somebody you've mentioned that I've been around. When I came home when I left the Rams scouting department, when they moved to LA, I was out of it, and then I did the summer with the Colts, and we had PJ. And PJ could rip it, small guy or whatever. And I never thought about this comp, but I can see Stetson being in that mold, and in the same mold. And I never thought about it that way till you just brought PJ up. They probably, how tall is PJ? Is PJ 5'10"?
5'11", yeah.
Yeah, 5'11", probably, they're probably about the same size if we're being honest. And all PJ did was make plays. I knew he was gonna make that team just from being on. I just knew it was gonna happen. I knew he was gonna get to play, and so it's just crazy to see Stetson. Like you say you got him. You say you got him at what, 11?
11. Yeah. So
Like, to me, that's not bad.
That's like a 4th round pick in terms of where,
like, who thought Stetson was going to be a 4th round pick 3 years ago?
It's
2 years ago. Like, I don't think anybody did.
And I'm glad that we've seen enough of football now to where we're getting. I think we're starting to get around to where people finally say, can he play football? Because that's how you get a Russell Wilson. That's how you get, guys Kyler Murray. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, we need to win games and play football. And you're not out there in week 6 saying, yeah, if he was like 6'2" instead of 5'11", we like, man, is he moving the offense or he not? And I'm glad we're getting to that point.
Well, I got to follow that up, though, because you mentioned Richardson at number 1. We're Gator haters on this show. The fan base is, and Jordan Reed took a beating every time he took up for Richardson too. Why Richardson at number 1? Because I'm going Stroud because of all the, the measurables, the intangibles. He's 6'2", 6'3", he stands tall in the pocket. But why Richardson at number 1?
It's a combination of the skill set, and it's a combination of the youth. He's 20 years old, so that lets you know, hey, all right, he still got some room to grow. And one of his biggest knocks is experience. Well, hell, we can give you that. We can let you play. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the other thing. But for me, and I remember somebody people try to be slick on Twitter, and if they catch me at the right time, they're either going to get a slick answer back or they're going to get a real answer back. So I'm in my zone and watching, Sanford and Son reruns, and somebody was like, well, somebody rehashed a tweet I had from July that said Richardson was my number 1 quarterback. That's going into the season. And so the guy was like, well, what games did you watch? And so I just so happened to respond. I'm going to give him a nice response because this could be a legitimate question as opposed to him being, I know he was being slick, but I'm like, all right, LSU 21, the Georgia game this year, and also Tennessee. He thought I was going to say Eastern Washington, Texas A&M, all the games that he balled out in. I was like, nah, I watched those games because I brought up the LSU game first because that's when I realized, first of all, let me rewind because I do color commentary. So this was a Saturday I was doing the Morgan State game, and our game kicked off at 2:30. So we had the TVs on, and it was playing I think it was Michigan and Wisconsin was playing. And so I'm taking notes in preparation for the broadcast, and they do the game break, and I look up, and it's Florida versus South Florida, and I saw the 75-yard run from Richardson. I'm like, dang, this dude fast. Like, man, like, that's crazy. So then about 10 minutes later, it cuts back into a game break. I look up, it says 75 run from Richardson against South Florida. I'm like, oh, they must show the replay. No, it's the different 75-yard. I'm thinking like, man, why is Emory Jones still in the game? Why is this dude not playing? Every time I look up a 75-yard run. So later that year, they play LSU. He didn't start. He goes in. I think his first pass or maybe his second pass was a pick 6. Horrible throw. Could have been a miscommunication, but still a horrible throw. Then he goes and leads that team back, makes some phenomenal throws, moves the offense up and down the field, some deep throws, some great tight window throws, uses the athleticism to buy time sometimes to get a first down. And then LSU comes back, they take the lead, and so now Florida has to go down and get a touchdown and win the game. And he's driving down the field. They're at the 50 now, and he makes the right read, gets hit as he throws, the ball hangs up, and it's intercepted by the linebacker. But had he not gotten hit, it would have been a touchdown on a rail route going right down the numbers. So he made the right read, the right throw. It was going to win the game. But that game right there showed me that he can overcome adversity. He's someone that can, find ways to make a play outside of using the obvious athleticism. And he had tremendous throwing ability at all levels of the field. So I was like, this dude got something. And whenever they figure out that they could start him the full game, I'd be interested to see. Now, I thought it was going to be, Billy Napier came from, Louisiana, so I was expecting him. I saw what he did with Levi Lewis. And I was like, oh, he got a supercharged Levi Lewis now, 6'4", 240, 4'3". And so, the offense wasn't as conducive to what I thought they were going to run.
I was going to ask you, what do you think, I'm not trying to get you to, trash Billy or whatever, but do you think they did him a disservice, or do you think he still has to grow. You know what I'm saying? Do you put some of the onus on him? Like what is it 50-50? Is it a situation where if he's somewhere else he does better, or is he what he is and you like his potential? Are you ranking him on potential, or you think he could help somebody now?
Great question, because it's all three. I think the offense and, to protect Billy a little bit, I think he kind of knew he had at wide receiver outside Pearsall. Pearsall, he got tattooed. You got to get him the football. He clearly was your best player. Just off the bus, looked like, all right, he tatted up. He's the guy, right? Everybody else dropping the ball, so we can't really air it out. But when they needed him to against Georgia and also against Tennessee this year, he showed that he could make these throws. He had a beautiful throw against Georgia down the sideline. Tennessee, he was throwing the ball all over the field, making big plays, but the defense couldn't stop anybody. In Florida State, I don't know how the dude was able to get back on the bus after he dropped that ball, on a inside 2 minutes. Like, man, that would have been a great throw. They had so many drops in that game. And the knocks I have against Richardson are sometimes you got to take the layups, and you see that a lot with guys that have such a strong arm. They want to go for the home run ball. Like, hey, man, just take this check down. Because you could go either way where you have guys that are so enamored with the check down, they're afraid to take the deep shot. But for him, we know he got the deep ball. We know he got the intermediate ball, but sometimes take these layups. I think that can be coached up, and we know about the +1 in the run game. So for me, that's something that I'm willing to bank on that. That's why I say Indianapolis, because you put him behind that good offensive line with a great tailback and good options that could actually catch. That offense could look like what we saw from Philly in 2021. You can. I think you could drop him in the Giants offense. He could do what Daniel Jones did last year today. So
who do you feel? How do you feel about quarterbacks? Is it from guy to guy for you, or do you say play them? Your talented guys, do you say play them or sit them?
I'm always team. You don't get better by sitting on the bench, right? The only time I've ever, and it's funny that you asked that question, the only time I've ever said a dude may need to wait a little bit or bring him along slowly was Malik Willis. I felt like, because I felt like he was too streaky. Like, everything was legit a fastball. Everything was a little bit late, and everything was a little bit herky-jerky. So I felt like he needed to – at Liberty, right? And I was like, I felt like he needed to, like, you clearly saw talent, but I felt like he needed to be brought along slowly. And it didn't help him that he had a coach that didn't want him, combined with the GM and the coach fighting about, I wanted you to take this guy and now I want to play this way. And now that puts him in a bind, So that was the only guy I said should sit and wait, because we throw everybody else out there, every other position, go and play, make your mistakes, and we'll find out quickly if you could sink or swim.
Well, and let me follow this up, because I had this written down as a question I was going to ask, because, you talk to a lot of GMs, you talk to a lot of scouts, and you evaluate a lot of players. Which schools are really developing talent that they're almost plug-and-play guys? Because there are some guys who need to sit or need to get developed on the NFL level, but which ones are because we think Georgia guys are always prepared. So that's what we hear. But, which schools out there are really developing these guys where they are kind of plug and play?
Great question, because I'm looking at, the Georgia guys that I have, and we're, my number 1 free safety, number 2 D tackle, number 8 boundary corner, number 3 edge rusher, 13 tackles, 6 inline tight end. And we just talked about Ben. I'm like, so Georgia is definitely one of those schools that I can trust. Hey, this is a guy from Georgia. Cool. Even if we're talking about someone like Kyrus Jackson, core special teamer, helps out the return game. He's down there as a gunner. Perfect. That's what we need, plug and play. I feel like certain schools have certain positions that are plug and play. Like, if you told me, oh, we got a Utah defensive player, I don't even see the tape. Draft him. You know what I'm saying? You tell me we got an offensive lineman from University of Louisiana, I'm all in. Draft him, because they did whatever. When Billy was there, they did a great job, with guys that Dotson, Max Mitchell, now with Osiris Torrance, so they had, Kim Marks would have been good had he not had the health issues and retired. He's now a coach on the staff. You look at receivers coming from
Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State. Like the sight unseen, like guys that you name the school, name the position. I'm all in. Like Kansas State football players. I don't care what position. I know what they do over there at Kansas State, and these guys seem to come in and prepared and ready to go. So for me, it's just like certain schools, like Georgia would be someone I could just trust. The guy's going to come in ready to go and be a pro. And then matter of fact, there was I've been covering the Giants a lot, going to training camp and stuff like that. And this was he was I want to say 2012. Forgot the receiver name, but he was a core special teamer for the Giants as a receiver. But I remember just watching him at practice and just watch how he goes about practice. And I was like, man, this dude just like a pro's pro. Like didn't no flash, like everything he did was 100%. And now his name gonna bug me the whole night. But Tavares King. I was about to say he had the Lou Gossett Jr. head, you know what I'm saying? But Tavares King, he did everything how you want somebody. He would be a coach's favorite player on how he went about his business.
I've always said that, I don't for the expense of being called a homer. I just think Georgia guys typically do they might not. There was a time where we had like some of the top guys at every position, like a Justin Houston, a Todd Gurley, or maybe have a Nick Chubb like now, whatever. But it goes deeper than that, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the Georgia guys typically do. They're typically good teammates. Typically don't get in trouble much off the field. They just come ready to play and play good football. Like I would, if I'm a GM or staff, or a head coach, I'm looking at those qualities because those guys typically produce very well. You got like a Ben Jones, been around forever. Scrappy dude, very unassuming NFL caliber player, but he ends up playing forever. You know what I mean? Just Georgia just churns those guys out that are just good, solid character, tough, good players.
You touched on good teammate, and I know this year is probably an anomaly, but you like how guys at Georgia kind of stay, and so you think about that in terms of someone like a Kenny McIntosh, kind of plays like our I remember Patrick Pass, right? And how I thought he was explosive, right? It was like the same number, right? And just kind of played his role. The other guys usurped him and started and played a lot more. But he had a nice little career with the Patriots. You know what I'm saying? I feel like McIntosh, because of his receiving ability and ability just to, be a coachable player and, do what's asked and do what's necessary and required, he could carve out the same role, despite having a trump card of being able to go out and catch the ball on third downs and do what he has to do, can play special teams. But you didn't hear much from him at Georgia, and, people just expected him to be like what we've seen the last 3 or 4 years with the Georgia backs. But he kind of, but I think there's a benefit of guys staying and playing their role and playing within their role. And that to me just kind of translates to the next level.
Hey, you thought you were going to slide one by me. And, I got my guide. I just haven't dug in yet. But you thought you were going to let it slide by me. You said a D tackle from Georgia that you had the number 2 D tackle. Are we talking about Carter?
Yeah, and listen, I have Carter with an 80 grade. I have Brian Brissy with the 81 grade.
Woo! Oh boy, he done lit Dog Nation on fire. Let's hear about this.
But people hear that and they think like, oh, I hate Carter. Like, no, he's number 2 with the Pro Bowl level grade, right? And it's funny with Carter. It's I did a show. They asked, "You not worried about the off the field issues and the stuff that's around Carter?" I gave him that look like, "Listen, bro, I'm from the old school where, I watched. If I'm a coach, my job is to win, right? And if we out there and Lawrence Taylor was out there on coke doing that, we need to get him some more coke. You know what I'm saying? Can we get it online? Can we get a discount? Like I don't get, like, as long as you're not hurting women and children. Hey man, I need to win these games. So like I'm just saying that off the field stuff. Like he smoked the weed. I don't care, man. Like he spat out a Dunkin' Donut. I'm making light of a situation that was very tragic. I'm not joking about that. I'm just saying the dude is he is of the talent to where he would have to do something to, you know, women and children for me to take him off my board, because everything else would be like, man, you saw the game against Oregon? Like, you know what I'm saying? That would be my response. So I like Carter. I think Carter's going to be a phenomenal plug-and-play guy. And the conspiracy theorist in me thinks that, because I was at the Combine, and we were on set at CBS interviewing a player. So we're on stage, and Will Anderson was coming on stage. So we were introducing ourselves to him before we sit down and get mic'd up and talk. And I look out to the crowd, and I've never seen this before. Everybody at the same time looked down at their phones, and then we saw the producer behind the camera was like look at your phone, and it was an alert that the story dropped. And this was right as the D lineman was supposed to walk up on the podium and talk. So naturally, he's not going to go up there and talk. He's going to be ushered out and get on the plane and get back to Georgia. So I'm thinking, like, this happened last year with Nakobe Dean and the injury news, and he ends up getting drafted by Philly. I'm willing to bet Howie Roseman threw this out there, so now he can get ahead and get ahead of this and make him fall to 10. That's my whole conspiracy theory, because I've never seen nothing like that happen as coordinated as it did at the same time.
Well, the Steelers are my team.
Or at least that happens, or at least that's a consensus amongst people in the NFL that happens. People put stuff out there and try to get guys to fall.
And it made sense. It was like man, so nothing about this situation until, you know, March 2nd at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. Now you found something.
It was like perfect timing.
And I said the same thing, and people were like, no, it's just so happened. I'm like, no, there's no possible way.
Nothing just so happened.
Because he was getting ready to come up on the stage. I mean, I wasn't there like you, but I know he was getting ready to come on because I was watching.
The dude is on body cam and everything. He's on body cam footage. And they just now found. And
they released They released that for less. Let him would have fell out coming out of his car. That would have been on Twitter. Late as he's falling down, they would have posted that on Twitter.
Yeah,
man.
And he was back the next day. The damage done. The damage done. So if they had did this 3 days later, a whole different type of, I guess you want to say, how you want to call it. It looks a little differently. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But national TV that's a lot different.
Right. Then he said, like, well, you don't think about the pro day, and I'm like, bro, y'all keep telling me stuff.
I was there.
Don't trump the Oregon tape.
Yeah, I was there. Like, first of all, what I don't think people understand was he was running drills with Bill and Smith. They running the same drills, rapid fire. I've been a fat boy. I still am. You know what I'm saying? But I've been a fat boy on the field before. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing drills at the same pace as the running backs and lasting it to the end of that thing. And they're there to break you. Like those coaches are there to break you in those. They want to see what you got. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? At a certain point, I ain't got it. Put the quarterback back there and snap that ball and see what I do.
Thank you.
I bet that tackle. I think it was a tackle. People think it was a guard because he's a D tackle. I bet that tackle from Oregon. I bet he'll put his cosign on it.
Right, exactly. Ask the guys that had to go up against him. So for me, he's still an elite player. Listen, like I said, and no one has brought this. I don't think anyone has brought this up in terms of safeties, but Robert Carter is my number one free safety. Like, no one talks about him. Like, this is someone that's so disciplined, so refined in his game from the free safety perspective. You could tell he was well coached and does a lot to where you don't, get yourself beat deep. Like,
and where is he from?
He's from Georgia.
You said who?
Robert Carter, the free safety. Oh,
no.
29.
Oh, you talking about Smith?
Yeah, Smith.
Smith.
You talking
I'm
about
thinking
Smith?
Robert Carter is someone that played at West Georgia. That's in this class. A corner.
Yes.
That's a sleeper that we'll jump in.
I know you're talking about, but yeah, Smith. He's
your number one free safety.
He's a football player.
Nice.
He's a football player. He's a football player.
Yep.
Like, he's gonna get guys where they need to be, and he's gonna be where he needs to be. We don't win. Of course, he scored a touchdown last year, but we don't win a national championship. Possibly, you know what I mean? If he's not the dog that he is, versus Clemson, because we didn't score but 10 points.
Right.
He scored 7 of them. You know what I mean? And it was great to have him back, because that team this past year's team was just a different team, a whole different team than the year before. And he was a big key. He was a key component to making it, because they were so young. I don't think people understand how young. I'd be interested to see if a younger team ever won a national championship than Georgia this
well,
year.
You guys, Stetson's going to raise the bar on that one.
Yeah, he is. You know what I'm saying? But outside of Stetson, they had a ton of young guys, and I've been 18 before, and they redshirted my butt. You know what I mean? So, you know what I'm saying? I ended up, being, I guess pretty good, but they redshirted my butt. But they had a lot of 18-year-olds out there playing 18, 19, and they ended up winning it all again. And I'm pretty sure Chris Smith and, a few other guys had a lot to do with that.
And the crazy part about Smith in that Oregon game, the pick you're talking about, a couple of series, maybe it was a series or a couple of series before that, the same route concept they got him on because he was a little jump.
Yes.
This time he stayed patient, and Bo Nix thought he had it again. Whoop, went back the other. So you're not going to make the same mistake twice, and you actually have the ability to turn the ball over. Because we see this time and time again on game day, whether it's Friday night, Saturdays, or Sundays. If you don't make the interception when you have the chance to, the next play is going to be a touchdown somehow. You know what I'm saying? It always works out that way. So
he goes back. Go.
No, I was about to say he turns the ball over like that. He doesn't miss those opportunities.
And it goes back to what you say about certain schools. First of all, if I'm coming out of high school, I'm a DB, I'm going to Georgia, I'm going to Bama. Like, if I'm in the NFL and I'm taking these DBs, I'm taking Bama guys, I'm taking the Georgia guys. Like, that, they're ready on that back end. They got so much to. I heard that it's almost too much for those guys that they put on them, but they end up. So on Saturday, they're more than prepared. Like, they got so much on their plate during the week. You know what I mean? Like, those guys are really prepared in their secondary at places like Georgia and Alabama, and it shows in the draft. Those guys get picked at a high clip. You know what I mean? Like, Alabama defense wasn't even. They weren't their typical selves this year, and they got a number of guys, I'm sure that are rated fairly high in their secondary.
Like Brian Branch, 14. Like, I would take him in the first round just off GP. Like, I love the fact that I love small football players and love how dudes just pressure the ball. They force you to make a decision as a running back. I hated those type guys that kind of force you to make a decision before you're ready to. It's like, man, I wasn't trying to, make this cut now, but I got to because this dude, flying in the alley, like, you know what I'm saying? So when you see dudes like that, it's like you like guys like that on you. And again, but in order for guys to play that fast like he does, it shows you how much film study they put in and how much work they put in to know what you're about to do. Like, it's just bizarre how consistent those dudes are. Georgia, Alabama, at one point in time, Clemson had a factory in the secondary. That guys are just anticipatory
LSU.
like that. LSU, that's true. Forgot about LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I hate to change gears, but there's a guy that I think, I don't know, but if anybody's talking about a lot, because we are now TEU, Tight End University.
True.
That's Darnell Washington. I mean, I'm pretty sure that if Brock Bowers is coming out, he'd be the number one tight end, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He would have been the number one tight end last year, quite honestly.
He been number one tight end as a freshman. I asked around.
Yes.
I had to ask my scout guys, like, am I tripping? Like, he's 18, but am I right on this? They're like, no, you're right.
What's
I mean, you see Bowers' haircut, you gotta try. I mean, he clearly been here before. Like, you see it, like
he is somebody's uncle,
right?
He owns a winery. He owns one out there in Napa Valley. For years he's owned that. What's up with our boy Darnell Washington, the big O, man? I mean, because size, strength. I mean, he's actually an additional tackle on that right or left side. But what are your thoughts on him? And really, truly, what is the ideal situation for him to roll into? What type of team for him to roll into?
This is why I hate talking ball on the internet, like, because a lot of these guys, they, and it's not a negative, but they kind of like everything can't be a superhero. Everything can't be like, what I'm saying, comparing this guy to Metroid or Iron Man, whatever they watch nowadays, right? So it's like, yeah, he's 6'7", 268. They just imagine like, oh, you could just throw the ball up to him, he gonna go and grab it and rah and all that. Like, bro, listen, like, dudes on the other side get paid too. So, but I will say this: in watching him, and so I think as a receiver, he's kind of one dimensional, which is why Bowers was able to eat like that. Which is why the other guy, the other young dude y'all got that's nice too, like Cope or what his name is,
Delp.
Him and I'm like, man, they just like they could literally go out there with 4 tight ends and beat you.
Yes.
And so watching Washington, I'm just like, it's crazy how when he's asked to block down, like there was one I gotta remember, I gotta go back and look at what game it was, but he literally moved dude from left defensive end to boundary corner. Like, damn, like where you fight at? Like don't let him push you all the way across the formation. So when you watch dudes dominating blocking, that in and of itself is something that translates. So one, he's gonna get on the field because he can block. And he can block really well, block on the move, block down. He does a great job in the run game. You can see potential for him as a pro. I think the best thing for Washington was homeboy Jelani Woods playing like he did last year for the Colts. Because now you say, okay, well, he's 18, and this dude's 6'18". So at least now we know we can play with tall tight ends and let these dudes just be tall. And with Washington, no one's going to want to tackle him as he has a head of steam. And people was like, oh, look, he jump over this DB. I'm like, time out. There's nuance because one of that DB probably 18. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no 18-year-old going to tackle this grown human out there. Like, it's just not going to happen, right? NFL, there's no 18-year-olds. So I think he can still develop as a receiver. So I like the growth potential for him. But as a blocker, he could step in right now. That's why I grade him as an inline guy. I think right now he can step in and help you in the run game, and then be one of those sneaky midseason, like, wow, he's really, becoming a threat as a receiver, something that he didn't do as much of in college.
Right. I think, do you think just with the way pro football is going with a lot of the things they adopt from the college game, do you, and with the emergence of guys like Washington, do you see the value coming back for the old school Y?
I think so, because when you look at, I'm looking at my rankings for inline guys, and I'm like, geez, like I'm like, there's a kid from William & Mary that was blocking his tail off up front, and also able to get down and make things happen as a receiver. Mayer from Notre Dame, it has done that. You look at the kid from Oregon State, and the good thing about him, people was like, well, he didn't have the production. Well, neither did Quitoriano, who was there before him, didn't have the production because they didn't throw to the tight ends. But when you saw him at the Shrine game, you saw him, work dudes in one-on-ones and have success. And then he went on and had success as a rookie with the Texans. So this new kid coming out of Oregon State is going to have some success. He was able to go down there, have success as a receiver at the Senior Bowl. So I think yes, because now we've seen the extension of the run game. You're starting to see a lot more outside zone heavy teams using that extra guy to gain the edge, especially now with the zone read and these guys coming off and kicking out on these wide zones and stuff like that. So you need someone that's not afraid of contact, but also that's excellent at executing those blocks. And so we're starting to see these schools produce these wide tight ends, these old school wide tight ends, just like you're starting to see now the advent of the fullback come into play, the athletic fullback that could block, and like the Tom Rathmans of the world. That's like the dude from North Dakota State. Those type of fullbacks are coming back that could also, you can trust, 4-minute offense, carry the ball a little bit to kind of help grind the clock down on short yardage or goal line. So schools are starting to realize, like, hey man, we're starting to get these big guys, these athletic tackles that can also catch a little bit, and let's get these guys on the move, get their hand in the dirt, and start blocking these light defensive players that everybody wants speed, but be careful what you ask for.
So you start ending up like you can't afford many liabilities out there on Sunday, and a lot of these Fs are liabilities. You know what I mean? The F guys, they fancy to catch the ball. You know what I mean? But what happened when they have to block a Sam or something? You know what I'm saying? And you get a TFL that you can't really afford. You know what I mean? Like old school wise, like it's the evolution of the athlete. These wise are not the wise that I came into the game with. The guys I came into the game, the wise I came into the game with will put hands on you, you know what I'm saying, and put you in the dirt. But they were essentially another tackle that got the ball every now and then. These new wise, they got some wiggle. Like the wise I came to the game with, they ain't jumping over no DB.
Nah.
No. You know what I mean? I played with one of my best homeboys, Dwayne Carswell. That's my dog. You know what I mean? He ain't hopping over nobody. He was a big athlete. He had them jumper cables. He was gonna put them in your chest, and you was gonna feel him. You know what I mean? And you know what I'm saying? And he had good hands. But these guys are just different nowadays.
I think it's 707, and I'll start to sound like the dudes at the barbershop that just be loud, but it's something in the food too. Like what I'm saying? Like these dudes just they eat different, and it's like, man, I remember these dudes being built like this at what I'm saying, like 17. Yeah, like being built like Shawn Rogers with skinny ankles at 17 years old, be ready to dominate. Like man, like Zion not supposed to be explosively dunking like that. You know what I'm saying? At 13. Like
well, hey, before we let you get up out of here, man, you know what? Throw us a couple sleepers. I mean, again, you do all the work. I got the guide. I'm going to dig into it starting this week with myself. But what's a couple sleepers for those who are going to be watching the draft? They're going to be able to, come back and chalk it up and say, yo, M told us about this one.
I'll keep it Georgia related. I kind of, let the rabbit out the hat with Robert Carter, the corner from West Georgia.
Chris Smith.
Wait. Chris Smith was the free safety, but yeah, Robert Carter is the corner from West Georgia, like 5'11", 187, had a fantastic Tropical Bowl week. Where now coming from a strong D2 program, the GSC is a real strong D2 conference, so he was out there competing with FBS receivers, doing a fantastic job. He has tremendous ball skills. Now, what was unique about him, he transferred from another strong program at the NAIA level in Lindsey Wilson. They just keep winning. So he transferred up. I think he finished his career with 25 interceptions and 50-something pass breakups. So It's insane how much he's around the football. And he is a good, I think, looking at his pro day, I just saw like the numbers. I want to say he ran in the 4.5. So, okay, that's fine. But I'd rather take the guy that's around the football like that and bring him on my team. And the receiver from West Georgia, Ronnie Blackman, same all-star event. He also played at Toledo, then also played at Colorado. So these dudes love, collecting these IDs from different schools. But Blackman was another one that was out there just, making dudes look foolish, just running. He's a slot receiver, but he also is someone that can help you out as a kickoff and punt returner. And again, that's why I love going to these all-star events. I went to all 8 this year, and watching these dudes just, because you get a lot of questions answered. The biggest questions I'm pretty sure Fost could answer this, like when you're a scout and you're looking at tape from a D2 guy, you're like, all right, yeah, he's clearly nice, but would he be nice at the FCS level? Would he be nice at the FBS level? And these all-star games give you at least that answer, and seeing how these guys, hold up. So those 2 dudes to me, like, really stood out. And also the quarterback. I've been talking about this guy a lot. And that's Cephas Johnson III from Southeastern Louisiana. He's a cross between Colin Kaepernick, cross between Cordell Stewart. You saw he measured in at 6'5", 226 at CGS. And he also played a little receiver. They had him running routes, because he did a little bit of that at Southeastern Louisiana. And then once he got back to quarterback, he's throwing the ball really well, like strong arm, intermediate. He was owning the intermediate level of the field. And every pass, he just got better to where he started doing less and less reps at wide receiver. So there's like, all right. And so he was someone that really stood out. And there was another little receiver from, his last name is Kittner, from University of Mary, which is in Minnesota, Division II school. Like, this dude literally lit up the College Gridiron Showcase. There was one team, one AFC team in particular, that had 4 scouts there. And every time he got up to go and run his route, they kind of like put their notes down and just kind of like, let's just watch him. Our guy is up there. And he was just baking these DBs. So he's someone that last year he had over 1,700 yards receiving. This year he didn't have as many yards receiving because the offense just wasn't. The quarterback actually declined. He was a guy last year that really did well, but Lou Kittner is his name. And so he was phenomenal. He's another one of these slot guys that's going to help you out in a return game, just like James Letcher from Washburn. Washburn has a history of having these excellent returner. Ballantyne came out, was an excellent returner at Washburn. Now, this dude here broke all his records as a kickoff returner, punt returner. He's kind of like the Division II Wan'Dale Robinson in terms of how they use him. Now, he is built, he's built like a lowercase I. He's like 5'5", right? So, granted, you only need him to do one thing, 5'6", I'll give him a little inch. But he's explosive, he's dynamic, and again, special teams can help you win games. And so for me, going on those all-star travels, HBCU guy, I want to throw out another name, Keenan Isaac, long corner, 6'2", 188, held his own at the NFLPA game, along with Isaiah Bolden, who played at Florida State but then transferred to Jackson State. Now, at Jackson State, he played all across the secondary, but at the NFLPA game, they had him just playing exclusively, outside corner. And, he has the length to really jam you. He has the ability to run with you. So not only is he a core special teamer, but he's also someone that can, play many different roles in your secondary, whether you need him as a alley defender, whether you need him as the boundary corner, or as a strong safety. I don't think he could play deep third because he gets a little flat-footed, but he's someone that you definitely want on your football team.
Hey, you know what? This just popped up, but is it harder or easier to evaluate these guys when there's so many guys hopping and jumping in the portal and out of the portal? Because I know you get a chance to see the different levels, you know what I mean? Like you just said, if they, going from FCS to FBS, whatever it may be, is it easier or is it harder?
It's easier. The evaluation is easier. What's harder for me is I can't wait till we get back to when guys are seniors, then you're a senior. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you this your last year and you out. So I don't want to watch, someone and think like, it says senior here. Then you say, oh no, he got 3 years left. Like, bro, what? Like, and I can't keep up. Like, that's why I did 1,000 scout reports on this guy. Cause it's like dudes, coming back for their 6th and 7th, year of college football.
Yeah.
So it's the evaluation ain't the problem. It's the sheer number of, like, obviously I'm not a real scout in terms of like the scouting job like Fost did. I'm a media guy, so I have the luxury of stopping at a certain time. Like, all right, yeah, I'm done grading. I've got to enough quarterbacks. I'm okay now to move on to running backs, right? Mm-hmm. I ain't got to grade all of them, but I feel for those guys because they have to. There's so many guys. That. Yeah, like
they got to do some guys that they could leave, like, and you can't you can't get the draft meetings and the GM asks about somebody and you ain't did them.
See, and that's my like, it always like I finished the guide on April 1st, and every year, like the first year I did a physical like draft guide was 2020. And otherwise I was just throwing all these grades on YouTube, and then I just got smart. It's like, nah, y'all gonna pay for these. You know what I'm saying? So I put it in the guide form, and as soon as you're done, I'm thinking like I'm big and proud, like, oh yeah, there's 1,000. Like, hey man, what about so and so? Like, you know what, man? What up, dude? It's about the one dude that's not the doggone guy, man. So I can't wait till people get back to being juniors, seniors.
Is that after this year?
I think 25.
Wow.
Yeah, because
they had to wait until everybody.
25.
Yeah, they had to wait until all the freshmen cycle through.
Because what the problem was, we thought they said everybody, gets the extra year. We thought they were just talking to seniors. No, they gave it to everybody. So now they're using that. And dudes, I never thought this. Like, I had to medically retire, and I didn't know these dudes now are using like medical red shirts as like a red shirt. It's like, wait, y'all could do that? Like, what? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so now they got like, you have like 6 years to play for. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know who the kid is, but he just picked up his 7th year. I mean, he should have a doctorate by now. He should be working on his second doctorate.
Be a coach.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Nuts. But Em, we appreciate you coming on the show, man. I mean, it's been wild. I love listening to you, and but you gotta let everybody know where they can see you, where they can get the material. I got my guide, but you gotta let them know yourself.
Well, go to footballgameplan.com/2023 draft guide and pick up your copy. It's the largest draft guide out, and it's all scouting reports. It's not where we say we have over 500 scouting reports and we give you 100 scouting reports and just list names for the other, 400. No, it's 1,000 pages, 1,065 pages to be exact. All scouting reports, full color. You get my opinion. It's a PDF form, so no more emails about when you shipping my copy. Like, bro, I had to charge you $1,000 for this to print this thing out. Like, so it's a PDF file. And again, it's cool because it's useful for the draft, through the draft, for preseason, through training camp, through the regular season, and also
look back at that.
Yeah,
I still look back at my reports and like, yeah, it's kind of like yeah, man, I was right about this dude.
Yeah, exactly. To take it even a step further, if people are smart, like, I'm about to let the secret out, but that's why my record be so high with these XFL games and USFL games, because I know everybody, because half the dudes in this book playing the league. So I know what team going to win, what team going to lose. So when you're spending some of your good hard-earned coin on, these games, it's always good to have an advantage, and this type of draft guide gives you an advantage.
There you go.
What's up, man?
All right. Well, Em, we appreciate you coming on again, man. You're welcome anytime because, again, Fost wants you to pump him up. Matter of fact, you need to go back, just look at his film, and then come back and let us know where you would have had him going.
I tell you what, years ago, I got back in touch with Ted Sundquist, and he sent me the reports that they had on me from my Broncos days.
Nice.
And my first time I had ever seen those, and they was old school. They like everything in pen or pencil or whatever. You know what I'm saying? He sent me the photocopies of it. He still had that stuff. It was cool to see.
And I'm not saying this because I'm on the show with you guys, because I told you last year, man. It was like I was a Georgia fan, like you know what I'm saying. So I know Fost was cold. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know he was nice. You know what I'm saying? I know I could list off the backs and stuff like that, and Kendra Bell. All of I used to be deep in watching Georgia while playing for UL. Like, it's like, man, I'm a Georgia fan. Like, so I know Fost could play, and if I was grading Fost, he wouldn't have graded lower than 80 based off. Aesthetically, he looked like a good football player. Like, his uniform fit, probably had the right number, everything. Like, that goes a long way. Like, I tell you one quick story. I remember, you know how it is, Fost, when freshman year, you get to college and, everybody kind of in one dorm room, everybody kind of like watching each other highlight tape, right? This is back when you had the VHS. And so we had this one dude that watched his tape. And so we like, yo, like, where you at? Because he was he's a corner. He like, you right there. And, dude with the far away voice, like, that boy wearing 65. Dog, from that on, and never cried like real tears. Laughed so hard, like, bro, he was big 65 jersey playing corner. Like, dog, what is you doing?
Nasty. You nasty.
No. So you know how aesthetics is everything. Like, somebody asked me, jokingly, when you think Florida State gonna start producing these corners and these DBs, I feel like, first of all, they got to get back to getting dudes with gold teeth. That's when you go back and look at it. That's when they was at their peak. You know what I'm saying? You got to get back to that. Aesthetics is everything.
Yeah, man.
Oh, man. All right, man. We're going to let you get up out of here, man, so we can finish up. But, hey, we appreciate you coming on. And, hey, I'll touch base with you after the draft because I want to probably pick your brain on some of the Steelers stuff, man.
Appreciate you guys, man. Thanks again for having me on.
All right, brother. We appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Fost, man. That's Emory Hunt. That's my guy. Like I said, I don't think anybody does it better in the business than him. Whenever I need to ask a question, he's there. Anytime that I need to tap his brain, he's there. I'll shoot. Somebody will say something on the internet, and I'll say, "What's your thoughts on this?" And he'll give it to me straight. He'll, especially with Georgia guys and everything like that, because he has always been a Georgia fan. But it's been a It's been a year, man. It's been one of those top years, and I'm excited and getting ready for the draft and getting ready for our guys to get ready to move on and do some great things. And so I'm glad that we had him on. But, again, we got G-Day coming up here on Saturday. We're going to touch base on G-Day after that, and it might do a little pop-up show with Graham for next week. If not, we're going to touch base in a couple weeks, and it'll be right before the draft, actually, when we do the next show. So it's going to be interesting.
Yep, Graham going to have the skinny.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, man. I know you got to get up off of here. I know I do too. We got family things to attend to, but as usual, it has been real. And
I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed talking football with football guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Not just pundits, people with random opinions. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
If you're gonna talk to me about some ball, throw some facts on that thing, or at least some educated,
an educated guess.
You know what I'm saying? Opinions. I don't want to hear all that flim flam that mostly dudes be with on Twitter.
Yeah, man. We got what we got to do. We got to set it up, man, to bring the boys over from Roll Up. We got to talk Florida State guys because M just got done talking about the gold teeth corners. Florida and Miami. So we got to set something up with those guys. Set something up with the network and really talk some chop. But all right, man. I'm gonna let you get up out of here, and I'm gonna get up out of here. And as usual, see you at 100 Sanford.
Yes,
and go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Thank you for listening to the 100 Sanford podcast. Tune in weekly to hear fresh content from the 100 Sanford podcast every Thursday, but also with some pop-up shows every now and then as news breaks. You can also follow the content on our website, www.100sanfordpodcast.com, and email us at dogs@100sanfordpodcast.com. Lastly, reach out to us on social media streams, For Twitter, it's at 100 Sanford, but on IG, TikTok, Facebook, and other accounts, it's 100 Sanford Podcast. All right, folks, that's it. And as usual, see you at 100 Sanford.